Previously on X-Men.
Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Reviews, back to talk more about X-Men, the animated series' version of the Phoenix Saga. We're on part 2, it's called The Dark Shroud. So full spoilers if you have not seen this episode. Yeah, a lot of notes and everything else. And again, this is just part 2. And they start out, right? So they're like already previously on X-Men. I mean, cartoons didn't do that. For the most part, you know what I mean? For the most part. This was serialized drama in an animated form. I mean, come on, how many times have you heard, like, I still can't get the whole previously on Lost. Like, everybody does it now. And an animated show that has to do that, to have to explain it to you, like, hey, we need to catch up. Like, it's just amazing. And so, and this took place, and I was checking dates, and there's no way, like, this was in maybe September 94 that this came out. But where we left off was Jean was trying to get everybody back from space, and, you know, everything's hitting the fan. She's trying to bring the ship in. I love the fact that the space shuttle, my focus is a little off here, that the space shuttle just has like a stick to pull back. But whatever. So Jean's like trying to bring the ship in. It's all going down, like, right? Everybody else is passed out. She's the only one around. She's trying so hard to keep herself together. I mean, she's really struggling. And I mean, again, showing this, like, they took the time to show her struggle and how she can't do it. And she's calling out for Scott and Logan finally, like, for help. But she can't, they don't come to her rescue, the Phoenix Force does. So the Phoenix Force that's like surrounding this whole situation goes inside of Jean here, and she's able to get up, pull back on the space shuttle stick that, that's all it took, right? That and the radiation and everything that was causing all of this to happen. But holy crap, that space shuttle crash is pretty amazing. And I mean, you're going to be able to see it behind me, but like, again, just like in the first part of this with the space battle, bringing in the space shuttle out of atmosphere and going past and hitting the Empire State Building and crashing into the water and everybody going down, and it's like the parts of it are coming off and everybody's sinking. It's really great. Now, I don't know why when they're inside there, right, that Scott didn't just blow the door off right away. Instead, we don't get to use Wolverine's claws very often, so because we can't show him actually stabbing anybody with those giant knives. But so they let him poke a hole in the door, and I guess what? That's supposed to give Scott like a better, I don't know. So he blows the door off and everybody gets out of the water, but they can't find Jean, who comes flying out of the water in epic fashion, total comic book fashion. I mean, this is great. As the Phoenix, she's rising up and everybody's like, what the fuck is happening right now? Why is Jean green? Why is she like, her eyes are glowing and she's talking about how she's the Phoenix? And, you know, Scott's all worried and everything. And yeah, like, this is what I'm talking about. Look at that. I mean, past the fucking okay, before the towers collapse and everything else, like, that's just really impressive for a Saturday morning cartoon. I mean, that's a lot of detail. And details, man. That's where this show has it in spades, especially the story that they're doing. But Jean's up there going, oh, I am the Phoenix and everything, but it's too much for her at that moment, and she collapses, and they get her out of there. So she wakes up in the hospital. And this is where I noticed how dramatic the music always is on this show. Like right now we're in like, it's like music, it's like soap opera, hospital soap opera, like General Hospital type music playing. But then right off that, like as soon as they start talking about the space stuff and the Phoenix Force and things, the music gets all just crazy intense. Like, oh my God, like they really took all this extra time. So they're all worried about what happened. Beast and the professor walked in, right? And Beast is wearing like a fucking Howard the Duck shirt, which is just great. And they have to quarantine Jean out. So, because they can't fathom what happened. Because nobody even knows how they even survived this. Look at that. So, they have to keep her separate, which is not going to be, Scott and all them are. Scott's already got a hair up his ass about everything. Rightfully so, kind of, you know what I mean? But they went on this mission. And then, we find out about that there's more aliens coming. And Scott and the professor actually have it out. Like, it's not something that happens very often. He's usually the professor's, cheerleader. So for Scott to actually be snapping, and I mean, he really snaps at him. Like, we went in there blind. You didn't tell us shit. We went in there because we trusted you. And I brought that up in the previous review. That they're doing all this based on faith. Based on that he knows what he's talking about. And that they're not just, they've given him their trust because he's supposed to keep them safe. He's supposed to give them all the information. Except in this situation, he just blindly gave it to them because he's in pain and he's just like seeing these like warnings in his mind that it's just, we have to do this. I can't explain why. But that's not good enough for Scott. And I mean, that's dramatic. It really is playing out like, hey man, people are getting hurt. Jean's over here, like, and you didn't do anything because you couldn't tell us. So like, we got to get in front of this thing. And it's just like, that's a lot for a kid's show. And I know I keep saying that over and over, but it holds up. Like, I'm really invested in this. And it's also nice to know that his whole reaction to everything isn't just about Jean. They like to just kind of make Cyclops just Jean's bitch in everything. And as far as the movies go, he doesn't really have much of a personality other than I'm in love with Jean. Oh, I'm the leader, I guess, but nobody takes me seriously. And in this scene, he shows why he's the leader, why he's a good one. He's questioning the people around him, saying, why should we be risking our lives if we, can't even trust the information we're being given before we go on a mission? And what's all involved? Like, holy shit, we're in space and stuff. This is big time. We can't just keep fighting blindly. Outside, Wolverine's fucking up trash cans because, again, can't show anything, I hope they make an animated series or something that's more adult that just lets us see more of Wolverine and what he can really do. But yeah, he's just in the alley fucking up trash cans because he's got nothing else to do. And Beast comes down there, and trying to, like, comfort him and whatever. But Wolverine does not like hospitals because, again, we're talking about Weapon X program and all that stuff. So he's all in there. He's outside wishing he could be in there, but because of his, neuroses about, like, hospitals, come on. If you walk in there, you're not going to suddenly, get strapped to a chair again and have anybody pumping you full of adamantium again. But Beast's answer is, hey man, let's go get drunk. So, but they can't even get a cab because of the way they look. And, of course, just more stuff. I mean, come on, though. One guy's got knives coming out of his hands, and you're a giant werewolf-looking motherfucker. So, I mean, yeah, you talk really great, but, And Professor's ship, man. First he's got the cool-ass hovering wheelchair. Then he gets in this, like, dope-ass little spaceship-looking thing that's so awesome. But then he's psychically attacked here. And again, it has all this to do with the Emcron crystal that's coming up. And the powerfulness of the blinks that the crystal has, but we explain that later in the episode. So in this, though, he's knocked out, and for some reason, this attack psychically, or not even really attack, we think it's an attack at first, but this trauma leads to the professor's dark side to project itself from inside himself through the astral plane. Now the rules in this are a little iffy because sometimes it's like, yeah, we know he's messing with his mind, but sometimes it feels like he's really physically there. But it just, you have to remember, none of this is really happening. But some of it is the way they animate it and the way the story's being told. It can be confusing to sometimes think that for a specter, for an astral form, it sure can touch a lot of things. But yeah, he leaves, it starts fucking with everybody. And of course, we might as well go to, we start with the most interesting person's backstory. So Wolverine starts hallucinating. And this is really cool watching this now because I do believe that outside of the comics, this is our first introduction to Deadpool. It's an image, it's just an animated, no dialogue form or anything. But first he sees Yuriko, then he sees Sabretooth, and then out of the shadows comes Deadpool. He gets no line, it's just a hallucination, but we know, like, Wolverine knows Deadpool in the animated series. And I don't even think Deadpool ever shows up again in the animated series. But that was just a really cool happenstance that we're reviewing this. Because Deadpool came out a few years prior when X-Force started. And we get Jubilee and Gambit. Gambit's putting the moves on some lady while they're in line. But the professor's out there, just happened to be in close proximity to Wolverine as he's coming out of the subway. And I built the X-Men, I can destroy the X-Men, and all this stuff. It's just really funny. So they all Jubilee calls, I'm sorry, my nose is really itching. Storm gets called by Jubilee on her little X-communicator, and she's just up on top of the frickin' Brooklyn Bridge chilling, like, except as soon as she starts talking, it's all, oh, and the winds and everything. It's just always her with the big speeches and everything. And it's like, the cops come, and, she could be subtle, right? She could be subtle. They could just, the fog could roll in, and then they'd go, oh, we can't see it. Hey, this is our chance to escape. And then they run away, and Storm's just there like, hey, did you guys see? I got to the storm. Except, no, she has to fly in. I can just be like, winds and rain and fog, and it's like, man, they can see you, man. What if one of those guys shoots you? You're not bulletproof, But everything's got to be a production because it's a show. It's a show. It's just that, like when you grow up with the comics and it's not always like that. It's not always jingle the keys in front of the kids kind of stuff. But so they get away. And the Dark Professor goes to the hospital with Jean where there's a little psychic battle between Jean, Scott, and the Professor, where they finally are able to defeat him, and goes back into Professor's body, where we now find out that Eric the Red's been listening from orbit this whole time, seeing what everything is going on. And the Professor, now knowing and acknowledging that he can't keep carrying on like this, sending the X-Men out without understanding what's fully going on. And so he puts Scott in charge and goes to Muir Island to have himself checked out by Moira Mactaggert, who, there we get introduced to Sean Cassidy, who is Banshee. Lots of things happening in this. There's concern about whether the Professor and her are still a thing, because why not? Banshee and her are interlinked, and the Professor and her have a pretty complicated relationship. But this is where Lilandra then shows up, like in the full gear, in the full suit, everything. And we get a little bit of an explanation of what's been happening, that she's come from the Shi'ar Empire, where her brother Deken wants the M'Krine crystal, this hugely, vastly universe-destroying like artifact or, relic. He wants to weaponize it. She steals it from him, and is trying to get it somewhere safe. And this is where we get another really interesting thing on a kids show, where they talk about linked minds. That this whole time, like, she's saying that the Professor and her since birth have been linked mentally from across the... I mean, you get to say that in a kids show, that linked minds seeking each other out across the universe. Talking about, like, even somewhere way out there, there's some, I don't know, it's crazy. But then, boom, as we end this episode, we get our big cliffhanger ending as the Juggernaut walks in the room. And if, you know, like, I love the Juggernaut, right? But, like, there's been some good versions and there's been some bad versions of the Juggernaut. I mean, what version are we going to get? Are we going to get this one?
You know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
No, we don't get that version of it, of course. We get this version of it.
Somebody's getting too big for her britches. Come out, wherever you are. You shouldn't have been such a pest, girlie.
No! Picking on kids, big boy.
How thoughtful. The professor sent me more mutants to mangle.
You robbed the bank and left me to get the blame. How could you do this to a fellow mutant?
I'm not a mutant, tin head. My powers are magical, and none of you mutant wimps can handle them.
We will see.
Come on.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. So anyway, that's more like it. And that's where we leave off. The Juggernaut comes in. Hey there, brother. And get ready for some Juggernaut action. So think about this, man. All right, so we've reached the end of part 2. So in part 1, we start setting up the space shuttle and the things going on and the professor having these visions. And so we go out there, we take the ship out there, we save the astronauts, we come back, Jean gets infected with the Phoenix Force, she rises up, the professor has a psychic attack where he has a dark side of himself start messing with his people when Lilandra shows up and then tells him what's going on with the M'Kraan crystal as Juggernaut breaks through the wall. So Jean's just getting to know her Phoenix Force situation. The space stuff is happening. Juggernaut's here. He's on Moira Island. Eric the Red's here. It's just, there's so much. And this was just 2 episodes. So in 41, 42 minutes, they've already made a huge dent in a great storyline. And so, if you liked this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Otherwise, this is Robert Smirking and Reviews saying we'll be back with part 3 soon. Otherwise, you can watch any of the other content that's on the channel. I want to thank everybody for watching these, and we'll see you later. Bye.